One of the main passages that Protestants use to prove Sola Scriptura, the Bible alone, actually disproves Sola Scriptura and the Bible alone. Acts 17, with the Bereans, they say that the Bereans searched the Scriptures, but this actually disproves Sola Scriptura. The Catholic Church searches the Scriptures. We check doctrine with Scripture all the time. That doesn't mean we believe in the Bible alone, because we don't. Just searching Scripture for something doesn't mean they were going by the Bible alone. Second, and most importantly, is that Paul was preaching a new gospel that wasn't in their Scriptures. Paul was saying to people in the New Testament that you didn't have to be circumcised. That was heresy as a Jew. He was also saying that you did not have to follow the Mosaic law anymore. The works of the law, we are saved by faith, not by works of the law. So no more Passover, no more circumcision, and no more Mosaic law. Now find me where that can be found in Scripture, in the Jewish Old Testament law. Show me where it says we don't have to be circumcised. Show us where it says, oh, we're going to get rid of the Mosaic law, or you don't have to practice Passover. Their scriptures say that circumcision and Passover were eternal decrees, meaning they were going to be practiced forever, until the end, apparently. But the bottom line is, Paul's preaching this new thing that was not in Scripture. In other words, Paul was bringing tradition. He was bringing the teaching of the church, not Scripture. He was going against Scripture, because Scripture says you have to be circumcised. Paul said you didn't. Scripture says practice Passover, an eternal decree. Paul says you don't have to. Scripture says you have to follow the Mosaic law. Paul says no. So he was going directly against the Scriptures. So how can this prove the Bible alone? Because you can never prove that we can get rid of these things using Scripture alone. So how did we come to this conclusion? Jesus taught us, and he taught it to the church, and the church passed on that decree, that tradition, to the rest of the church. So that tradition became teaching. And some of that tradition was written later down in Paul's writings and in other writings as well. But the tradition that contradicted the Jewish scriptures, according to them, according to many Jews, that would disprove Sola Scriptura. Because if you go only by the Bible, and that's your final authority, then you have to show where in Scripture it's okay to remove the Mosaic law in their scriptures. You need to show the Jews of Berea, yes, they were Jews, you need to show them where it's okay to get rid of the Mosaic law. You won't find that anywhere in Scripture. So the fact that anyone believed Paul, they were going outside of Scripture to do so.